Welcome back to another episode of Scarfey Spurs Talk. This is going to be an action-packed episode because the main focus is previewing Chelsea, which is Tottenham's next game in the Premier League. With 2 to go, the relegation battle is heating up. We'll also be discussing last night's West Ham defeat because they lost 3-1 against Newcastle, which is literally Spurs opened the door, massive opportunity against Chelsea because a draw really, because of the goal difference, will be enough to confirm our place in the Premier League next year. Didn't think we'd be saying this at the start of the year, but at the same time, I think a lot of us would have been delighted to be in this position with 2 games to go. Let me tell you, and a game in hand, by the way, I may add, on West Ham. When De Zerbi entered the club, this position didn't seem possible. We're talking about a lot because you've got some big bombshell news in terms of João Palhinha and his future beyond the summer. Roberto De Zerbi out of nowhere, big comments about Vicario, not only confirming if he's available or not, but also who he sees as number one. He's talked about it both in the short and long term. So, yeah, lots to discuss. And with Roberto De Zerbi, he's great, but he is unpredictable. So he's come up with a couple of big bits today that we will be discussing. So do not go anywhere. And let's introduce this episode then for Scarfey Spurs Talk. Wheelsy, thank you very much for joining me, partner in crime. It's great to have you on. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you, mate. Brilliant week. Birthday last week. Newcastle beating West Ham yesterday. All in all, a fantastic week.
Love it. Thank you very much. And happy belated birthday as well. And thank you for your time today. But absolutely no better birthday present than West Ham losing in this current situation, especially, as well, of course, being rivals. Wilsey, thank you very much. Philip, thank you very much for coming on. Last minute substitute. If only the Spurs substitutes can be so effective in these final 2 games and we'll be okay. Called in with someone dropping out. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm all good. I mean, it's been a gradual improvement in terms of Spurs overall, right? For the last 6 weeks or month even, really. Well, less even, right? To be honest. So, generally speaking, feeling good. And the sun's coming out, I think, rest of this week. So, yeah, hoping on a Burnley result tonight. And obviously the big one tomorrow, right? Again, as always, I say it every week, but I just hope we turn up. You know, I hope we go there and we give a proper account of ourselves, which we don't often do at Stamford Bridge. So hopefully there's a bit of De Zerbi magic and a bit of fight, you know, to get that point tomorrow. But yeah, I'm good. Thanks.
Good. No, thank you. And thanks for stepping in. You're right. Absolutely. The record at Stamford Bridge is not good. In my lifetime, we've only won once there. But I would say that any record is there to be broken. So fingers crossed. Philip, thank you very, very much. Ashmatic, thank you very much for coming on. How you doing?
Wow, that is ultra tox coffee once in your lifetime.
Yeah, once.
I can understand if you're not believing, like trust me, that is a wild. I've never heard that one, but yeah, I mean, I get it. It's 9. I think it's 9. One result in 9, home and away. So yeah, if he does it, if De Zerbi does it, listen. We have to put some respect on his name. 100%. And it's an interesting topic. Is it one of the standout moments or iconic moments for Spurs fans if he keeps us up in the league? I don't know, man. It's a big question, but yeah, listen. Hopefully the boys get the job done. He's come in, and obviously, if you're looking at points, he's managed to do something that the other 2 managers haven't done, which is galvanize the squad, get points on the board, get wins as well. And start to actually get some belief, not just in the actual players, but in the fan base as well, because we're playing a certain style that fans are being yearning for. And I think that's the big difference at the moment. We've got lots of players that have come in from Postecoglou, of course. Some have come in from other managers, but the main thing is they want to play on the front foot. And now we've got a manager that wants to play with that particular style. So, yeah, man, let's see what happens. Chelsea, for me, they're a bunch of young boys. Their mentalities is just wrong at the moment. They've got a temperament where if they go down, or if the vibes ain't right, they haven't got the leaders in their squad to kind of get it over the line. And also, they don't have. Back in the day, used to have a lot of clutch players. For me, like Palmer this season, I'm not gonna get into it, but just quickly, Palmer, he's been underwhelming, and I'm kind of worried for England because you kind of need those players to be performing, right? So there's a debate whether he should be in the England squad full stop. Going into this game, it is kind of positive. Do you know what I mean? Because we don't want Palmer's turning up or Dr. Tottenham, dare I say, all of a
Yeah,
sudden.
don't jinx it. Don't jinx it, Ashmatic. But you're right, he's fallen off a cliff since coming back from injury. He's not been anywhere near the same player. But Ashmatic, let me tell you, it's great to have you in better circumstances. Of course, previously coming on, we were proper down in the dumps. So now looking a little bit better under Roberto Zerbi. Thank you for joining us. Before we get into all the action, nicely set up by Ashmatic there. Dustin, thank you very much for joining us. How are you doing? Thank you for joining us from Singapore in the early hours.
All right, how are you all?
All good, thank you. All good. Well, I'll be honest, a little bit more annoyed after Roberto De Zerbi's comments today, but I absolutely still do echo what Ashmatic says about the good work that he's done. But interesting comments today. So there's a lot to discuss, isn't there?
Yeah, I think it's about. I think it's more about maintaining player value, but we'll see.
100%. Of course, as a manager, you've got to be careful with the comments you make. You know, we can make a comment about a certain player or have our own opinion, but the way that the manager's got to put it, especially in his job, is totally different. Let's start off with the positives then. So Newcastle 3, West Ham 1, in more than 24 hours ago now, the game. Wheelsy, I'll start with you. I mean, absolutely perfect outcome for us, right? I'll be honest, I was quite worried about this game. Nuno tends to thrive in this type of situation. Big team away from home because of his defensive football. I just felt Eddie Howe's been struggling to get his tactics right this year, but it turned out he got it absolutely spot on. And Nuno and West Ham, on the other hand, went completely wrong. They're now in a position, aren't they, Wheelsy, where it's now really, really difficult for them to stay up. They need massive favours all round.
Yeah, I mean, never in doubt. I saw your tweets yesterday saying you're very confident West Ham are going to win. I was proven right. The whole fan base was proven right. Newcastle got that 3-1 win against West Ham. And honestly, it's our game to lose now. We only need 1 point in 2 games. A draw against Everton, even if we lose tomorrow, it will confirm our place in the Premier League next season. And in all honesty, I think we're going to do it.
Love that. I love that. Yeah, you're right to highlight I was wrong. I had some last minute nerves kicking in for the game, which took away any form of common sense, if you ask me. But someone that absolutely called it as well, to be fair, and reassured me even before the game was Philip King. And so, Philip, I will ask you about this game. You were so confident that Newcastle were going to win and win quite comfortably, which I know they only won by 2 in the end, but it was fairly comfortable. Let's not beat around the bush. What did you make of the game, Philip? And were you surprised about, in particular, just how poor West Ham were? Such an important game. You feel like they've got nothing to lose in their situation because though they're only 2 points behind, there's only 2 games to go. They play before us. They had to kind of stamp their authority, if you like. They're fighting for their lives. Their goal difference is awful. They have to go about it in a different way than they have. So were you surprised just how poor they were across the 90 minutes?
Yes and no. I mean, there's a lot of factors at work, I think, as well in the game. Like, I was quite confident, really, that Newcastle would turn up. That was kind of probably based more on the fact that Newcastle have had an awful season for their standards. Eddie Howe is kind of under pressure, right? I mean, he's not really achieving what most of their fans would want to achieve, and he's nowhere near the Champions League. The Saudi owners have put quite a bit of money in, but I know they're hamstrung by, the fair play, right? Financial kind of rules and stuff as well, right, nowadays. So it's not easy, but they've had a poor season. But I thought that they would turn up. Last home game, Trippier's last home game as well for Newcastle. What a signing he's actually been for them in the end. Looking back, probably one of Poch's, errors, maybe, to decide to let him go. I think it was Poch's decision to let him go, but no, that's in another world. I was confident that Newcastle would turn up, and it didn't stop me being nervous though yesterday. Like, I just had nightmares of West Ham, obviously, just getting a lucky goal, or literally just turning up themselves, right? And, Bowen and Fernandez and some of those other players that they've got, right, who are clearly, outstanding in that team, right? They don't have a very good team or very good squad, and Nuno, hasn't really, probably delivered as well, right? Really, at the end of the day. But I thought that they might turn up in this game. You never know, right? Stranger things have happened, But I was hopeful that Newcastle would turn up. And look, I think Nuno didn't help himself at the beginning of the game because he kept that back 3, which he kind of played against Arsenal, and I don't think it really worked. And as soon as he changed it to a back four, immediately West Ham looked a lot better. And when that dude, smashed that 30-yard volley in, I'm sure I wasn't the only one that started panicking a bit, because West Ham looked clearly the better team after that. And it was only, 70 minutes gone? Or 68 minutes or something like that. And there was a lot of panic on WhatsApp groups about things possibly going wrong, So luckily Newcastle kind of did a bit of karma. They kept it calm. They made a few changes, and they saw it out. But we needed that result, because it could have been very, very hairy. If they'd just picked up a win there, out of nowhere, then we would have been obviously chasing Chelsea with so much pressure and probably not much result, really. And then obviously it wouldn't have been in our hands. So thank you very much to Newcastle. We're very grateful. We've obviously seen some terrible games there in Newcastle ourselves, haven't we, over the last couple of years as Spurs fans. But thank you so much to Newcastle and to that club. And look, it's all in our own hands now, isn't it? And we've got everything to do it. And luckily, it's not just one game. It's not just tomorrow. It's not like we have to go to Chelsea and win the game in Chelsea, right? We know that we can get a draw. We never play well there. You mentioned, Harry, that we've won there once in your lifetime. With a great, some of us in this group are a bit older than you, or quite a bit older than you. Let's say potentially, two or even three times as old as you in at least one case, I think, right? And okay, maybe not three quite, maybe 2.5, 2.6.
That's not insult anyone.
It's me, myself, probably, right? But I'm insulting myself. But how many wins have I seen at Stamford Bridge in my lifetime? Since I've been a Spurs fan, I can only really remember one, to be honest with you, and that's the most recent one. I'm sure we won there in the 90s. I don't remember winning there in the 2000s, like before, Harry came. I don't think we won there under Harry Redknapp. So, literally, I can't remember another win apart from that win. So, let's see, right? We can only make history. We can only go there, hopefully, with the right setup. I'm quite confident that we can get at least a point there. To be honest, I'm quite confident about it.
Philip, thank you. At least I didn't jinx it then. That was what I was worried about. It seems to jinx everything else, which can be good if you play it right and you're clever about it, but at least I didn't jinx that. But Ashmatic, I come to you. Nuno said when he was appointed Spurs manager that it makes Spurs fans proud. I guess he's made us proud now, hasn't he? It took a little longer than I think anybody would have expected, but he has, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's done us a favour, right? Playing that back three, that helped us out a massive. He went pragmatic, thinking that he could stop their forward line and not being on the front foot, backfired, because they were 2-0 down before you could say before the referee could blow the whistle, to be fair. So yeah, that was massive. They got the 2 goals that gave them confidence. I was positive me going into the game because I knew it was their last game at St James's Park, and it was a farewell for Trippier. So I knew some of the players would be up for it. And they wanted to finish high as possible. Like I heard Eddie Howe in his press conference, he was saying, they want to prove to the fans that they used to have fight for them. He's been under a lot of pressure as well. So it wasn't on the beach. It wasn't a throwaway game going into it. And I just thought the game against, I think the last 2 games I watched Newcastle, and I thought, hang on, they're not actually playing too bad here. I know they're not getting all the results they want to, but in terms of like playing, how they're performing, I thought they were doing all right. I think it was Nottingham Forest game I watched, and they looked pretty decent. And then there was a game against Brighton where they won. So yeah, I saw that. I thought if they take that form into this game, and West Ham hadn't had the best results either, then I thought, yeah, they could get a job done. And then I looked at the Michael Jackson celebration from Ulster. I was like, yeah, you know what? We need another Michael Jackson to perform tonight. Do you know what I mean? But let's not talk about that right now. Yeah, but to be fair though, Nuno did us proud. He got us the result that Spurs fans wanted, and it takes a lot of pressure off the boys. It'll be interesting to see how we do perform off the back of that, to see if it's going to be more or less, or if we change different. I don't know how we're going to approach that game off the back of it. Would it have been different had West Ham got that result? Had we not got the just a point to win, safety, could it have been a completely different mindset going into that? That would have been interesting to see. But there's less jeopardy now, which is nice for the fans, of course, myself included. But yeah, like Newcastle, yeah, they did bits, and Walter just behind, because lots of Newcastle fans are not convinced by him in a number 9, but he played just behind the striker, and I thought he did well. Yeah, thought he played well. They had Ramsey on as well. I know you like Ramsey a lot. Ramsey was playing, and they just played with basically 4 up top and outnumbered their back 3 and just caused a bit of chaos. And yeah, the fans are well up for it. So yeah, man, just happy with the result all overall.
Sure, absolutely. Big thank you to Newcastle for that. Ashmatic, thank you. Dustin, can I come to you on a different note? Because we've got a couple of things to discuss before we dive deeper into previewing Chelsea. So, report from Sky today, and it's been mentioned, by the way, by several sources, slightly different wording, but we'll go with Sky to the generalisation. They say that Sporting are amongst the clubs monitoring Tottenham midfielder João Palhinha. Spurs will not make a decision on his future until the end of the season. So, Dustin, while this is a conversation that will be parts till the summer, before we get to that situation, what would you do if it was down to you? Would you sign Palhinha permanently? I asked this because on the last episode, Ian from he's on multiple podcasts, previously Spurs diehards, he said it's now become a no-brainer for Tottenham to sign João Palhinha permanently. What do you make of that?
I think that the reason João Palhinha divides fan base so much is because not of any of his fault of his own. It's just like profiles. And João Palhinha is a combative midfielder, and there's lots of room for midfielders like that. We've had Victor Wanyama, we had Wilson Palacios in the past. We've had multiple midfielders where we've one of the problems Spurs has always had is having a soft underbelly, and having a combative midfielder is a good bulwark against that. So I can understand why there are a lot of fans that go, this is someone that fights in midfield, and we need that, and we need a fighter like that. I think that the question is with João Palhinha is that he offers a different thing in midfield when you compare it against progressive passers that can also be combative. I think the problem with Spurs is that we've never actually bought in that profile. What we've always done is we've tried to go and get a budget option. And when you get a budget option, what you end up doing is you end up getting a player that can be a creative player or a player that is more of a defensive clogger. And if you want to get, a Rodri which can do both, it's a price stratosphere that Spurs rarely goes into. So we normally end up with midfielders that can do one or the other. And I think the problem that a lot of people had with Palhinha was not Palhinha himself, just that the profile is like, we don't have any passes. And when you play Palhinha, you have to mitigate the fact that he cannot receive on the turn and he's not the most creative passer. Now, what we've seen under De Zerbi is that De Zerbi's actually managed to do something with João Palhinha, which is to mitigate for his weaknesses, which is play him in possession in right centre back or right back, because it means that he gets to face the play, and then you don't have to deal with the weakness of him not being able to receive on the turn as well. And also Palhinha is very good for pressing basically people that break through the lines or pressing second balls. So I think what De Zerbi's done is he's actually gotten the best out of Palhinha by playing to his strengths and then mitigating one of his biggest weaknesses. That said, if you're looking at rebuilding in the summer, there are a number of things. It's age profile. It's that he is a more limited player in terms of being able to play progressively, and the other is that he's a non-homegrown player. So I think that it's nothing to do with the player itself, and we do need leaders like Paulinho, because I think if you look at like players that have shown leadership qualities this season, there are very few of them. Paulinho has been one of them. So if you're looking at squad building perspective, I can understand arguments for wanting to keep Paulinho. But if you're looking at building for the future, there are a few different reasons, which is age, which is non-homegrown slot, which is some limitations in technical ability, which I can understand why you might want to let him go as well.
Okay, Dustin, nicely put. Thank you very much. And because of time, I'm not going to go through the whole panel on this, but something I would like to do, it'd be interesting to come back to it and see if we've changed our mind, come the end of the season, come the summer. And that is whether we would sign João Palhinha or not permanently, just a yes or no. If you have to offer a very, very quick explanation, please feel free. But ideally, just the sign or avoid, or yes or no, whatever you prefer. To go in reverse order then, so go down to the bottom first. Ashmatic, for you, Paulinho, sign or avoid?
Avoid.
Oh, interesting.
Ooh.
Oh, you're on mute. So we're going to wait that answer. Suspense. What's he going to say?
I was always avoid, and then I kind of half changed my mind to sign. I'm going away from that again a bit though, but only because I believe 100% we're going to stay up. And if we're going to do what we need to do, or even half of what we need to do in the transfer window, or even in December as well, and even if we want to try and get in someone who's a game changer, like Adam Wharton, who apparently is actually interested in us. It's not like these kind of players would reject us if we stay up, right, with someone like De Zerbi. If we're going to get someone like that in, then do you have space for a Paulinho in the squad? I would say no, especially when you've still got Archie Gray, Bergvall, Gallagher. Okay, Sarr still at the moment. He may move on. Plus. So actually, if I'm being really honest right now, 20 million or whatever it is and wages, I'd say no.
Interesting. Philip,
Don't
thank
sign.
you very much. I was waiting to hear your answer because I know you've watched him a lot when he was at Bayern, being over in Germany. Philip, thank you. Dustin, I mean, you've said your piece there, but to summarise, would you go for Paulinho? Would you sign him permanently or would you avoid him?
He's done a lot of good for us this season in the scrap that we've been in. But if you are looking to aspire to do what we are going to do, this is a profile that we can't afford. We need profiles that are more progressive. We need profiles, but if you're not going to sign him, you have to sign players that replace things that he has, which is the tenacity, the leadership qualities, the ability to snap into tackles. But you can get those in players that are better on the ball and better at progressing play. Valentin Barco is one example that's really good as well. But I would say that don't sign, but if you do sell him, you have to replace some of those qualities because he has some of those qualities that we don't have in the rest of the squad.
Okay, thank you very much. And Wheelsy, you've heard everything there. Paulinho, sign or avoid in the summer?
I'm going to go very brief with this, but I'm going to go against the group. I'm going to say 100% yes, we should be signing him.
I love it. Okay, so we've got a little bit of a split to an extent. That's interesting because for context, all the last episode, most people are like, we've got to sign him. We've got to sign him. So it's interesting to see that split.
What about you,
Spurs
Harry?
haven't even played. Oh, God, I didn't expect you to ask me that. You caught me out here. What would I do, Paulinho? I would going to be one of those difficult politicians' answer, if you like, and I'm going to say, if we can bring the price down, yes, but for the price that we originally negotiated, probably not. I believe that only having really, he's kind of close to his best for a year. So at the current price, no, but if we can get it down quite a bit, who knows if we can, without Daniel Levy, some would say. So it'd be interesting to see what price you can get. I wouldn't shut it off, put it that way. So it really depends. Does he get an injury before the summer? How does he play the last two games? Who do we sign in the summer? Which league are we in? More than likely, hopefully as well, the Premier League. So all those things do depend. But for now, we will move on because we got a bit of a bombshell from Roberto De Zerbi today in his press conference for the Chelsea game. He's named Vicario as his number one for Tottenham. And so I'm going to bring up his official words here because he's asked on whether it is a difficult decision or not on who to select in goal with the Italian back in training this week and available. And De Zerbi said, no, it's not difficult. It is easy, going on to say Vicario is number one, but we have to consider the physical condition, the momentum, and everything. De Zerbi going on to say, I have a big relationship with Kinski and Vicario as well, and there'll be no problem. Wheelsy, tell me if I'm wrong, but that's saying Vicario is the number one. We will be careful, but he's going to come back in. Am I wrong?
To me, that's completely bonkers. Maybe it's just the Italian bias. That's the only reasoning I can think behind it, because Vicario has been absolutely pants. I know he had the hernia, but Kinski was dropped into the squad, and he's been doing the solids for us. We kept a clean sheet against Wolves, only conceded one against Villa. If Vicario was in that game against Villa, I think we would have conceded more, and we would have lost that game. So for De Zerbi to choose Vicario over Kinski is completely way beyond me. I don't understand it.
I'm with you on that, Woolsey. Thank you. Dustin, talk to me about this. Personally, I love De Zerbi, and again, I'm not manager and I back him, over what I'm going to say for sure. But from a fan perspective, for me, I agree with De Zerbi that it seems easy, but not with Vicario being the number one. I have absolutely nothing against Vicario, but I do think performance-wise, confidence-wise, both the defence in the goalkeeper and the goalkeeper in the defence, Kinski right now, why fix something that's not broken? That's what a lot of people will say. Can you understand where they're coming from?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's a combination of that. Kinski has been really solid in the last few games. I think that it's also helped that he now has a coach in De Zerbi that values build-up play, and I think that we also have to take in context. We don't know how long Vicario's injury has actually been affecting his performances, and if you look at how he's actually been performing, this is a very good article by a Spurs fan that's actually gone into the points that Vicario has cost us, right? So Kinski's stoppage time save, you can say materially has saved us points in that game, because if he lets that goal in, we are bang in trouble. We've lost that game. So if we look at basically Opta goals prevented for this season, we can see that Kinski has a very small game sample, therefore he's only got plus 0.1 over here. But if you look at Vicario, he's cost us basically 5.5 points, or rather 5.5 goals, which means that he saved 5.5 goals less than what he should be saving based on XG. Looking at that again, he's basically ranked last in terms of value added as a goalkeeper in terms of shots saved. But if you go even further, there's an estimate goalkeeper swing, which is estimating how many points Vicario would have saved us if he had saved what he should have saved based on XG. And from a shot stopping perspective, if he had been doing average, we would have 4 to 7 more points. And if he had more confidence, wasn't as much of a risk on set pieces, for example, where he's been a risk in the last 3 seasons, basically since I think it was that run of games where everyone started playing rugby in the box during set pieces. Full goalkeeper package is basically 5 or 7 points he would have cost us, right? So I think that even if you look at things from a purely performance perspective, maybe you take into account that he's in the leadership group, but I think a number of people have issues with the way that he has taken over Højbjerg as pointy shouty man when things go wrong, and seems to blame everyone else except for himself. Even that Fulham game where he ridiculously ran out of goal and conceded from distance, right?
Yeah.
I think that there's been a big turn against Vicario, and it's a bit of a shame, because if his performance again in the Bridge, the game where we lost 2 players and our season unraveled under Ange, that was one of the bravest goalkeeping performances I've ever seen. But on the whole, I would say that his performances have completely dropped off, and maybe it's playing with the hernia, but he has not been a good goalkeeper this season. Objectively, this season he's been one of the worst in the league in terms of shots faced.
Interesting, Dustin. Thank you for sharing that article wrote by a Spurs fan and your own opinion and some vital stats there. Thank you. Ashmatic, can I come to you? I'm going to go around the whole panel on this because I think it's quite an important thing. The reason I take issue with this is we've got 2 games to go. Kinski all went wrong for him against Atletico. I put that largely down to Tudor, but of course it's down to Kinski on the pitch. But I just get frustrated because for me, it's working. It's how it appears. Maybe it's because of the opposition, or maybe how the midfield or attack, whatever it is playing. But I just see it now as I think we've looked the best defensively as we have all season, in my honest view. And I think the goalkeeper is a fundamental part of the defence. And Ashmatic, you're very big when it comes to tactics. So, give us your opinion, but also how important is it that the defence have trust in the goalkeeper? And also, by the same token, the goalkeeper trusts who's in front of him.
I don't know. Like, I'm reading it kind of wrong because I just assumed that he was going to keep it the same. I didn't think he was going to make the change. I just thought he was saying that to kind of keep the confidence within the squad. He doesn't really go against his players. He doesn't normally talk out against his players. And I'm just reading it now. It says, no, it's not difficult. Yeah, it says, no, it's not difficult. It is easy. Vicario is number 1, but we have to consider the physical condition, the momentum, and everything. So when he said the physical condition, that means Vicario. I thought, maybe, all right, he's not going to play then because his physical condition is not going to be the same level as what Kinski is. And then the momentum, meaning that Kinski has the momentum at the moment. And then he said everything. I don't know, maybe I'm interpreting it different. And then he says, I have a big relationship with Kinski and Vicario as well, and there will be no problem. So, look, if he does change it, then I agree with you guys. Like, I'm like, why would he? Because he was saying from the start, he doesn't want to make too many changes to the team, and we've seen that. The only person that's come out of the squad was Basuma for Paulinho. Apart from that, he hasn't really tweaked things. And also, Xavi Simons got injured, so Matthias Tell came in. So I just saw it that he didn't want to talk bad on his players. Obviously, he's a part of the leadership group, and he's just trying to like keep that confidence within his players and to say like, this is the team I'm going for. He says Roberto De Zerbi on whether it's difficult goalkeeper decision with Vicario not sharp and Kinski in good form. Maybe he just thought, yeah, let me just back the boys. That's how I read it. I don't know. Maybe everyone's reading it different. So when you came on and said, I can't believe what De Zerbi said, I thought he said something mad, and then I realized you guys were talking about this. So I was like, oh, okay. But yeah. Now listen, if that's the case, and he drops Kinski, I'm like, what's he doing? Because I thought also it could be a ploy. Here's my conspiracy hat now. Is that you kind of want to make it to the selling club that you value the player that you have, and that if you want to make a permanent sell on a player, you want to make them to feel like, yeah, we're still part of the squad, etc.
I agree with you, Ashmatic, but isn't that something you do in the summer? And not, I just think by what he's done now, by saying that Vicario is a number 1, I just think it's created a little bit of a problem. Why can't he just say it's an open competition? Vicario's come back. Let's see who impresses in training. Why couldn't he say
Harry,
that?
That's all done if Kinski starts tomorrow. Then what? Then what are we saying? The whole conversation is done. But yeah, sorry, bro, I'll cut you off, Dustin. Go on.
No. I was the one interrupting. No, I think if you look at this from this perspective, right? If he bigs up Vicario, there's that argument that he maintains value, and then we extract more from Inter.
Yeah,
but at the same time, Kinski's played 5 games. Kinski is the younger keeper. Kinski had the ruck at Atletico Madrid, so he would also understand if the coach says that Vicario is still the number 1. I don't think it affects Kinski as much. I think Kinski is far stronger than that, as we've already seen. So I don't think he does down Kinski too much. I think that Vicario also is a member of the leadership group, so I think he doesn't want to rock the boat in the dressing room as well. So by continuing to stick with the leadership group, I think it maintains some of the harmony and the squad harmony and the spirit that we have in the dressing room. and then whatever happens in the summer happens in the summer, and he's still saying that the injuries, or rather his ability to come back in, is the issue. It may just be a easy way of maintaining squad harmony without having to deal with the debate, and he can just turn to Vicario and say, I would have put you in, but unfortunately you just recovered, and it's very hard to argue against that.
Okay, Dustin, thank you very much. Did you know what? You all make actually really good points that make me think, okay, I can see how you view that. And it's interesting. It's funny, isn't it, how you perceive different things? It's like they say over text. It's exactly the same as social media. It's how you read something and I think how you feel going into it as well, because I took from that personally. I'm not saying that he won't, I don't know who's going to start the next game, but I took it that he kind of made up his mind like as soon as he's okay. But that's interesting. And before we come to you, Philip, just a couple of comments here listening live from people got in touch. So thank you to everyone that has got in touch. Kay says that's not how I read it. He disagrees with me, saying he said that, but he mentioned fitness and momentum, so that suggests it will be Kinski. That's kind of what the likes of Ashmatic are saying. Anthony says thinks De Zerbi is staying with Vicario as the number one just to keep value up, but won't play in the last 2 games. Interesting. Okay, again, lines of kind of Ashmatic's mentioned there, and Dustin as well. Philip, you've got a lot to get your teeth into there, so feel free to do it. I just believe personally, I'm not saying that he will now after some of these comments that you're interested in, but I think if you do change goalkeeper, especially at Stamford Bridge, I think you create a big problem for yourself. I could be wrong.
I think it's a relatively simple scenario overall, or situation, and I agree with the elements of what Ashmatic and Dustin said, actually. I mean, I think that Vicario, for all intents and purposes, within the squad seniority perspective, is a number one. Vicario has been the number one keeper, right, through the last couple of years, and Kinski was signed as a 20-year-old, or 21-year-old, whatever, right, and he's coming on occasion. But I don't think there's any doubt, really, that Vicario is the senior goalkeeper. He's still an Italian international. And I think that De Zerbi is just trying to manage his players at the moment, and also, trying to get some value or increase value out of the player from a transfer perspective, because I think there's no doubt that Vicario is moving on in the summer. I think it's 100% clear that he's going. There's been quite a few media reports about Inter. I think he's gone, right? I think he's going in the summer. We've been linked with James Trafford potentially as maybe a number one, or as obviously a strong keeper. I'd personally be happy with Kinski to be our number one for the future. I've been banging his drum ever since day one that we signed him. I told you before that I've got a very good mate of mine who lives in Prague, and his kids play for Kinski's club there, where Kinski was for many years. And this guy, like, let's not be around the bush. When we signed Kinski, it was a coup. This was a coup, right? This was a big signing that the press and not really anyone else bigged up too much. But in goalkeeping talent terms, when we signed him, this was a big deal. This is a big one. It's not that we just signed this, this talent that, I don't know, maybe he's going to make it, maybe he's not. Like, I don't think there's any doubt that Kinski is going to be a world-class keeper. He's going to be a world-class keeper. And the thing is, he brings all of those other things to the table that a lot of keepers don't have, that you need if you want to play De Zerbi ball nowadays, or you want to play, Arteta, I'm not even mentioning his name, Pep, whatever, right? Pep ball. You want a player who's good with his feet, who can distribute, who doesn't give the ball away, and that's what Kinski does. He didn't give the ball away once in the last couple of games in terms of like hammering the ball out of play, with his feet, which Vicario seemingly did multiple times in the last games, right? Straight out of play, give the ball back to the opposition. He's calm on the ball. Kinski is good enough to be our number one next season. Whether we or the club or De Zerbi feel there's another keeper out there, like Trafford or someone else who can come in and challenge him or even be the number one, okay, let's see. But I think with regards to Vicario, he's just trying to manage him till the end of the season.
Philip, can I just chip in if you don't mind? Sorry to interrupt. Robbie says here in the YouTube comments, because you mentioned Trafford, it's a perfect opportunity. He says Trafford is erratic at times, talk about a Man City second goalkeeper. He mentioned the weekend's FA Cup final, and he said he showed a lack of focus. You did see a couple of moments where he lost control in particular of the ball. What do you make of that?
Well, how often does he play, though? I mean, he plays once every week, every like 4 weeks, or once every 2 months or something. I don't think he didn't play Champions League games, right? He's only really played FA Cup games for City, as far as I'm aware. I know that Trafford has made errors. Look, I'm not Trafford's biggest fan either, by the way. I mean, I don't even know. I wouldn't be standing here and saying that I think that Trafford is like the answer to, our goalkeeping situation for the next years. If it was my decision, honestly, I would go all in on Kinski. Back this guy. Give him the confidence and the backing, to be able to be our number one for the next 5 years, because he's good enough to do it. And the thing is that he came in pretty much when De Zerbi came in as well, and he has embraced De Zerbi ball. He's embraced that way of playing, right? His short passing, his rolling out, Dustin said it last week or the week before perfectly. How he was analysing how Kinski was putting his studs on the ball, and waiting and rolling and stuff. We haven't had that for so long, and Kinski's is really good at doing that. His long pinging balls are great. And look, lots of fans got on his back as well around shot stopping. Is his shot stopping good enough? Well, I think he proved it, didn't he? Last week. He's only going to get better or more consistent if he starts playing games regularly and every week, and he will show that. But anyway, I'm kind of banging on Kinski's drum here. I think he should be our number one, and I'll be very happy if we made him our number one for the next couple of years, because I know that he's good enough. But again, with regards to Vicario, I'm pretty sure, I'm 99.5% sure that De Zerbi isn't going to drop him and play Vicario tomorrow. Okay. Maybe the feeling is, I'm pretty sure he's going to play Kinski tomorrow. But maybe the feeling is that if we get our point tomorrow, or if we get a win tomorrow, and I don't know, maybe the club thinks that they can, play Vicario in the last game against Everton, kind of last game for the club and all that, back from injury. But only I think they, again, they would only do that if we were, realistically safe. We get the point, and West Ham would have to overturn a 14 goal
currently
difference,
13. Yeah,
which even in the worlds of Spursiness and our roller coasters that we've lived over the last X amount of years is not going to happen. So
surely not.
That's what I think they might do, right? If we're kind of safe, they might bring him on, or they might give him the game or something, because he's been there for 3 years. He won the Europa League with us as well, didn't he? He's a bit of a character, isn't he, overall as well? But I also do think that he was maybe slightly, De Zerbi's English is very good, but it's also not perfect. His English is getting better all the time, and sometimes, he does say things in English which, I think they could come across slightly different if he said it in Italian, to an Italian reporter, and it was then translated effectively, like, oh yeah.
That's why the whole Greenwood situation, he's, if you remember, he wanted to get that word and spot on.
Similar to the Greenwood situation, because he was a bit misquoted, and we don't really want to talk about that. There's other things around that, but like he, again, if you give an interview in a language which isn't your mother tongue, and you're not fluent in it, then you can come across differently sometimes. And
you're right. And what I'm saying is that's why when he addressed the comments when first joining Spurs, which is a really clever idea and the right thing to do, of course, as well as being clever, but he spoke, didn't he, if I remember correctly, in Italian, so he didn't mince his words or mix his words, if you like.
But so my last point, though, Harry, is that I think even De Zerbi, I mean, anyone who's kind of in that coaching side of how we want to play football must admit, or must be able to see, that Vicario can't play football how someone like De Zerbi wants to play football. He can't, not effectively enough, right? He's a good shot stopper on occasion, but he's been caught out on long shots, hasn't he, this season? Positioning, all that kind of stuff, right? Marshalling of crosses. Long story short, I'd be very surprised if De Zerbi puts Vicario in. And I've got to be honest, if Vicario does start, if De Zerbi starts Vicario tomorrow, then I'm going to be super pissed off, like really pissed off, and that will be like a short-term yellow card from my side towards De Zerbi. In all honesty, I would be utterly flabbergasted, to be honest, if he did that. But I don't think he will. So I think he's gonna play Kinski.
Great points. I in particular like the points that's been made across the panel tonight about potentially raising the value. That's something I didn't really think about, but is an important part. You don't know who's going to speak to him as well. There will be people influencing that decision. I mean, don't get it wrong, the manager is sure, the head coach, their decision, but don't get it wrong, wouldn't surprise you if Spurs upstairs. Yeah, some of these ideas about raising value of players. But it's going to read out a very quick comment, then end some very quick goalkeeping stats before we do move on to Chelsea, which is the main focus. Got here from Will, to big up to him. He says Vicario would not have saved those two Leeds great shots. I totally agree. Going on to say that save on Rodon is what Kinski is all about. Great reflexes, best in the league. Absolutely echo that on a personal level. Will, thank you very much. I do totally agree with that. Dustin, on screen, then we've got some stats, goalkeeping stats to be exact. I come to you because you're far better and you know what you're talking about compared to me anyway with stats. So, yeah, through these stats, what really stands out to you the most? We've got all the goalkeepers here in the Premier League.
So what these stats show is kind of like the percentage column over here is the, it's one of the best ways of figuring out how good a goalkeeper is, specifically at shot stopping. And it's the percentage of shots that they save. So even if, you have a goalkeeper that's on a bad defensive team, if he faces a lot of shots, but he still saves most of them, even though he's in a poor defensive team that may have a poor goals against record, it will still show that this keeper is actually doing a lot better considering the amount of shots that he's facing. Generally, the upper echelon of keepers will be at 75% shot save. There was once a Fulham goalkeeper that, had 75% of shots saved, even though Fulham were doing very badly. He ended up going to Manchester United, right? So this is one of the cleanest stats, and it was the stat that was used in the previous Twitter account where they were talking about basically shots faced. Now, one of the things that stands out here is if you look at cross stoppage, which is one of the main areas that we have issues with Vicario, specifically whenever we're dealing with corners, whenever dealing with set pieces, he's never really inspired much confidence in the box about, being strong on, set pieces, especially with, the way that set pieces have been this season in the league. The goalkeeper is no longer a protected species, and you have players basically, it looks more like a rugby scrum than it does a football game sometimes. So I think this is one of those areas where Kinski, despite not seeming larger than Vicario, seems to be a lot more confident in his box, especially when he's dealing with aerial balls. So as you can see from this, Vicario doesn't do the best dealing with crosses. So I think that's one of the things that stands out. And if you look over here, errors leading to shot, this is where he tops the league in errors leading to shot, especially corner kick goals conceded as well. He hasn't conceded that many, and I think that's more to do with the way that we deal with corner kicks. But the things that don't look good are basically crosses and errors leading to shot.
Okay. Dustin, thank you very much. Do appreciate that. Some great stats and insight as always there. Thank you very much. Let's move on to Chelsea then, because just under, or actually just over, correct myself, at the time of recording, just over 24 hours before we faced Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. It's one of those weird 8:15 kickoffs. We played last, which I do like it. I didn't like it when we got that win against Wolves, great, but the fact we played at the same time with West Ham was awful. So to be able now to play after them a couple of times in a row, it does feel nice because you can see what they've done. You can respond to that. Nothing worse than dropping points than thinking, oh God, please drop points and having to rely on them. But now we know West Ham have lost. I think that has a good impact on the players, hopefully, as long as they don't become a little bit complacent. On to Chelsea then. So team news we'll start with. De Zerbi, the beauty of having his press conference today, confirmed the team news, basically saying that Vicario is available to face Chelsea. We got that gist from his comments earlier. Dominic Solanke, on another hand, has been completely ruled out and could play a part on Sunday, though, against Everton. So he still could play a part before the season ends, but not at all against Chelsea, and James Maddison missed training with a small problem post Leeds, but has worked very well the last few days. Is another one that, again, people will perceive in different ways. So that is the team news. Wheelsy, I'll start with you. What do you think? Good or bad team news to summarise there? They're the main points of it.
I mean, Vicario being back, yes, it's good to put more depth in our squad, but he shouldn't be the one starting tomorrow. It should be Kinski. And if I'm honest, we started the same squad that we started against Villa as we did against Leeds. I'm saying don't fix what's not broken. So we should just put out the same starting 11 and just see how it goes from there.
Agree with you. Absolutely agree with that. Thank you, Wheelsy, very much for that. Dustin, if I can come to you then, and if we can quickly touch on Chelsea, what have you thought of them this season? It's been a bit of a crazy season, but in particular of late, does it give you more confidence, even despite our awful record, A, against Chelsea, and B, particularly at Stamford Bridge, as we discussed? Does it give you more confidence that, well, in my opinion anyway, tell me if I'm wrong, but this is probably the worst Chelsea team I've seen in a few seasons, if we say, or a real low point of the season will be another way of putting it. Does that give you more confidence that they're struggling a bit?
It's hard to say. I would say that one of the things that influences this is that we've played against Abramovich's Chelsea for most of our time, and like the biggest change to Chelsea was Abramovich coming in and spending all the money that he did. It essentially started the financial doping of the Premier League. So under that context, I would say that our record against Chelsea being terrible is a combination of, I think, a mental block, but it's also a combination of Chelsea being run very well for a long time. And I think Blueco has shown that, Chelsea is one of the teams that runs us close in terms of managers per season this season. The Rossinier signing was never really made sense. The fact that they've gone for Alonso now, I mean, he's a great coach, but ultimately a lot of things need to come into place for a coach to do well at a club. And if Alonso had problems with the egos of Madrid, I'm not convinced the egos of Chelsea are any or it's any less dysfunctional in the Chelsea dressing room. That said, what I'm trying to get at with Spurs is for us to stop having this mentality of we never get anything at the Bridge, because I think that, if we feel it as fans, I think the players feel it. I think it becomes, it just becomes a hoodoo that lasts for decades. And we used to have that, and we broke it under Poch, which was we started winning at teams that we hadn't won it for a long time, winning at stadiums we hadn't won it for a long time. So it's collectively overcoming this idea that we can't do it there, and we have to turn around and say, actually, it's time for revenge for all the times that you've screwed us over, taking our Champions League spot by winning against Bayern when you didn't finish in the league, for the Battle of the Bridge, for knocking us off our stride against Leicester and then winning the next season. There are many times that we have suffered at Chelsea's hands, and it's time to turn it around and stick it to them and do it before Alonso's in, because I don't know whether we will have difficulties in the future against them.
Dustin, thank you. You're absolutely right. And Ashmatic, before we get on to us, which is the priority, we've got to focus on ourselves ahead of this game, and just general thoughts. I do want to speak about very briefly, because Dustin's right to mention it. Xavi Alonso, so Chelsea have confirmed that appointment. Of course, that's absolutely huge. Like, you look across social media, right? That's one of the most already viewed and interacted social media posts in several years. We're going back about 9 or 10 years already. I mean, I was worried at one point that if Spurs go down, especially when De Zerbi entered the club, I was thinking that could break it. But anyway, it's Xavi Alonso that's done it instead. And what impact does it have on the players? Because it's important to note that he's not in the dugout for this game. He's not going to be in the dugout until the summer, where pre-season takes place for Chelsea. But does it lift the players? And in particular, does it lift the fans inside Stamford Bridge?
Yeah, I think their interim manager, he's going to be a part of the backroom staff. So he's going to want to leave a good impression on the actual players. He'll be telling the players, look, Xavi Alonso's watching. So he's got a list of players that he wants. It's going to be a list of players that he doesn't want. So it's up to you guys if you want a future and career at Chelsea. Remember, Chelsea are a completely different animal to us in terms of like being ruthless. Their chopping block is serious when it comes to getting rid of their youth or senior players. they're not afraid to get rid of players, where we kind of hold on to players for 2, 3, 4 seasons, and then we get patents for them as well sometimes. Chelsea are a different animal, so that could seep into some of the conversations and some of the murmurs inside the actual dressing room at Chelsea. But if we look at what they've had before Rafinha, and before Rafinha, they had obviously they had Maresca. Their last 10 games, I think, they had like 2 wins at the last 10 games. And even against Chelsea, I mean, Liverpool, when they drew, Liverpool are on horrible form as well. So that point they got against them, it's not really something to look at, you know, to really judge Chelsea by. Obviously, they lost against Man City in the cup. So you look at those little things there and you're like, is the overall mood, has it changed really? Is it going to make a difference? I spoke earlier about the mentality of the players. There's a very young squad there and they've got very few leaders, in my opinion. And so you've got, you know, Reece James, you could say he's a leader. He's been there. He's a Chelsea boy. But outside of maybe Reece James, their squad's quite young. They've got quite a few young players. They got mistakes in both of their goalkeepers, in my opinion. And so I think Spurs, if we're going to talk about Spurs for a bit, we need to be aggressive as possible. We've been playing well when we played against Aston Villa and Brighton in terms of our press. So we need to keep that up. It'll be interesting to see how Conor Gallagher is welcome back at the Bridge and see how he deals with that type of pressure as well. Sorry if I've kind of spoken too early about that, if that was one of your questions.
No, it's fine. It's all right. It covers it.
Yeah, I just think it's going to be an interesting, and there's something about like the old players returning back to the once they were. He might have a point to prove. He said, "Look, you guys got rid of me. I didn't want to go. Let me show you that like what you're missing." Do you know what I mean? And we've seen how organized he is in terms of organizing the press, telling the players where to be, what position, how to position their bodies, when to go. And that's been improved by the Zerbi. I think the Zerbi's the one that's got it out of him, if I'm being totally honest, because he was bought under Thomas Frank. And we didn't see that much out of him. He looked quite, you know, demotivated. So did a lot of the players. Now they look like they were running through a brick wall for him. It's just about how we preserve that energy, in my opinion. Because there will be times when we're pressing, we're going to be high energy, but we can't be high energy over the whole 90 minutes. We're going to need to know when to do it, know when to pick our presses, and then control the game at points. Because I think with Spurs over the seasons, we've had problems with controlling games. We kind of let the momentum get away from us and we allow teams to get in. As I said before, Chelsea don't have many clutch players anymore. Enzo does pop up here and there with headers and stuff. He does box crashing quite a bit. But again, he wants to leave Chelsea. He's openly come out and said he wants to leave. He's not happy there. He wants to go to, funny enough, Real Madrid, which is another headache. Then you look at Cucurella. Cucurella's talking about openly criticizing the board, saying he wants to make a move. That could all change, as I said before, because I go back to your question. Xabi Alonso is now at the helm. You know, do they start to change their performance? Do their mentalities change? All of a sudden, they think, okay, he's been given more power, similar to the Zerbi. They're calling him a manager, not a coach. So are the board changing for Chelsea their remit, where they just want a head coach?
It looks that way.
Exactly. And so then all of a sudden, where players wanted to leave before because they said, I'm tired of these coaches, we don't respect them. Now you've got a winner, someone that's won titles as a manager and as a player. And people might be thinking, players might think, what can I learn? Similar to the Zerbi, what can I learn under the Zerbi? I want to play for him. Do you know what I mean? So it does add another dynamic to this tie. So it's going to be very interesting. Interestingly enough, we're looking at their back line against Man City. And obviously, Cucurella I respect as a defender. They've got Colwill next to him. He's another top centre back. He's come back. He's found his fitness. I think he's a massive boost for them. And then for Fofana, Wesley Fofana's there. And Gusto. I think that right side is the weaker side. Palmer, Gusto, and Fofana off the ball isn't as strong as their left-hand side. I think Hatto's quite young and inexperienced, but he's improved as the season's gone along. Reece James will be there sometimes. I think Reece James might drop into their back line, but I would still focus primarily on that right-hand side as a way in. not necessarily all the time playing through their press, but sometimes playing over the press as well, because we've seen how successful that is if we get the balls quickly into some of our forward players in an advanced position. Because I think where Spurs struggle, in my opinion, sometimes is when we're building up and the ball goes into Matthias Tel deeper in our half, as opposed to higher up in our pitch. I think higher up the pitch, that's where you want Tel. When Tel back to goal, facing the defenders, asking them to be, protect the ball, he lacks a bit of physicality, in my opinion. That's where he lets himself down, and his 1v1 ability isn't one of one of the elite wingers. He's more, I think, more adventurous when he's inside the box, when he's like attacking the goal for me. So that's for me. And then also sometimes he pops up on the right hand side when you give him, freedom to roam. He can hit those crosses into Richarlison, and that's when Richarlison becomes dangerous, in my opinion. So yeah, we've got that potential. Also, Porro sometimes dropping in at midfield, tucking in, playing balls over the top into Mwani early, getting Mwani higher up. Those are things we can start to exploit. Conor Gallagher again, players like Paulinho as well. We want Paulinho higher up, Conor Gallagher higher up. I don't think Conor Gallagher is strong in our defensive third in terms of build up, in terms of being on the ball. And I don't think Paulinho is technical as well. So those are two players that aren't really strong on the half turn. That's the reason why I want them to be higher up the pitch. Even Paulinho, when he box crashes or when he wins the ball back, it's quite high up the pitch. He's quite good defensively high up. So I would prefer him in those spaces as opposed to building up. And I think the Zerbi's done well, as we spoke about earlier, playing him out of that kind of midfield block. He takes him out of it, and that allows one of the 10s or one of the forwards to drop into that hole, and it helps us to get out of trouble, in my opinion. And I think that's the way we can cause Chelsea some problems, in my opinion.
Ashmatic, thank you. Some excellent points made there. Thank you very, very much. Philip, can I get your thoughts, if you don't mind, ahead of this game? And yeah, if you want to touch on anything Ashmatic mentioned there, but also in particular, like, do you look at it and go, Chelsea aren't playing very well, even despite the Xabi Alonso announcement might lift them, but still they're not playing well. Perfect chance to play them? Or do you keep looking back to that record at Stamford Bridge? You keep looking back to that record against Chelsea. What's the mindset right now? I suspect that nerves are kicking closer to the game, but how are you feeling right now at the time of recording?
I have to look back to the record at Stamford Bridge, just based on history, right, of being in a similar situation so many times, right? Going there and hoping that things are changing or whatever, even in positive times, and coming away with nothing. However, as has been alluded to, Chelsea hardly have a vintage team at the moment. They don't really have any crazy match winners at the moment, do they? Or like kind of world-class players that you just knew would kind of come and do the business against us, whether it was like a Hazard back in the old days or Drogba, obviously, Lampard, these kind of players, right? But even a couple of years ago, there was more. And yeah, Cole Palmer has obviously been pretty poor really this season, and really since the last international tournament, right, where he was so good for England. It's just not kept it going. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's really difficult to predict the game, like in terms of what's going to happen, because maybe the announcement of Xabi Alonso will bring a bit of positivity. I'm sure it will to the Chelsea fans. Xabi Alonso is probably one of the top 3 most coveted managers right at the moment in the world, isn't he? Really, in terms of like who you would have picked and said, "Oh, I'd love him to be my manager." I don't honestly know why Liverpool haven't gone for him, but that's another story. Honestly, don't know why they haven't gone for him. I think there must be more. There must be more happening in the background there, because that would be a no-brainer for me. But yeah, I don't know. Look, I mean, all I can say is that we've seen the development that De Zerbi has kind of brought to us, right, over the last 5 games, right? We've played. This is the 6th game, I think. Saw earlier that we've picked up 8 points from 15. In my opinion, really, realistically, we should have probably, or we could easily have taken 13 out of 15. In my opinion, I think we should have beaten Brighton. Well, we clearly should have beaten Brighton, to be honest. And like, really, I know Kinski saved us in the end, but we should have gone 2-0 up, or 3-0 up against Leeds, right, in that game. Like, we had to take the energy, right, the momentum when we had it, and even the Sunderland game, I don't think we deserved to lose that. So I think it's just clear that the Zerbi impact has been so significant, right, over the last 5-6 games, that we're in a position now where we can actually go to Chelsea and probably hope in some ways that we're going to turn up from our side and actually play, solidly up to a certain extent, but also probably not give away any ridiculous defensive mistakes. I think that's the thing for me. Like, we've given away a couple of silly goals recently. Danzo against Brighton, but in all honesty, that, I think it was just tiredness. It wasn't a mistake because of like defensive shape or anything like that. We didn't leave massive gaps. The Tell, mistake against Leeds last week was just a moment of stupidity, really, and probably youth. Trying to do an overhead kick in your box. That's not down to tactics. That's not down to the, marshalling of the defense in the midfield. And I'd really like to think that we can continue that, right? So we can go to Chelsea, to the Bridge away, with our top 3 away home record, or whatever it is, which is crazy, right? With the 3rd best away team in the league. It's a fact. So, put all of that together, and, with Kinski in there as well, and, the settled back 4 at the moment, hopefully, of, Danzo, Mickey, Udogi, and Porro, with whoever it is in midfield, Palhinha, if he can come in again, fine. Maybe picks Basuma. I think he's going to go unchanged tomorrow. Tell's going to get another chance. Richie's going to get another chance. It's I think we've just got to be hopeful and a bit positive that we at least bring this development in, right? That we've shown, and we just go there and we don't give away stupid goals. We show up. We don't give gifts. We've given so many gifts this season and last season, right? Like last season and this season, how many goals have we conceded? How many
Too
losses
many.
have we? Like, just go there, play intelligently, play solidly, and I think if we bring, I'm like, obviously we demolished Villa, didn't we? Really, in those first 45, 60 minutes. I'm not even expecting us to go there and do a Villa, but I think that if we go there and we just play, solidly, right, and we don't give up stupid spaces, we don't make mistakes, then we have every single chance in the world, because this Chelsea team is there. You can wound them, right? You can injure them, and
for sure.
we need to make sure that we are injuring them. That's the thing. If we don't, then I think we will lose. From a footballing perspective, of course, not from a physicality perspective or a personal injury perspective as well. Just to be very clear, for the purposes of the pod and for the purpose of YouTube.
Thank you.
There you
Absolutely. Vital clarification at the end there. Save yourself. But no, Philip, you make some excellent points. If we don't want to miss the main point there, thank you very, very much for giving your thoughts ahead of this game. Before we get to score predictions, Wheelsy, how do you feel ahead of this game? And can I also ask you about this comment from Will? He says on the YouTube chat, he says, what would your Spurs front 3 be in this game against Chelsea? Do we have even any options there? That's a good point.
I mean, our attacking options are very sparse right now. Like, most of our attackers are out. We have Tell. Xavi's injured with an ACL, so not much option there. Solanke's out. So if it were me, I'd probably go Richie as a striker, probably Colo on one of the wings and Tell on the other. I don't really rate Colin Morney. I'm not a big fan of his, but we have to use what we have in the last 2 games, so it'd probably be them 3. And talking about the Chelsea game, I don't expect us to win, but if we can get a draw, like a 1-1 or just any form of draw, that is our safety confirmed in the Premier League. So I'm going to say 1-1.
1-1. Wheelsy's kicked us off with the score predictions. Love it. 1-1 from Wheelsy. Thank you. Of course, we encourage you to be honest. We all know what score we'd like, or the outcome we'd like, I should say, but what do we honestly think will happen? Okay, Wheelsy's kicked us off with 1-1. Dustin, what are you saying score-wise? What are you saying?
I think that with the front three, one of the things that is a big issue is Kolo Muani's performances, which have been abject at right wing, and I think our main
Has he got
problem
better, though? Because some people say he's got better recently.
not in the latest game, and I just feel like there is some talk about doing like two right backs. Basically, you have Porro, and then you might play Jet Spence as right wing instead, because at least he gives you something in terms of carrying the ball there. It'll be a bit experimental, but at this point I'm at a point with Muani where I don't really see him doing better than Jet Spence in that position, which is a damning indictment. From my perspective, for the game, normally I'd say the best we can get is a draw, but like we have them on, like they're not in good form. We should just go there and just stamp our, just be the protagonist, go and take the game to them, particularly because they are a team that would probably like to attack us more. They're at home. So we've generally played better against teams that want to possess the ball and want to attack us, and that also allows us to press them high. And if we can press them high and turn over possession there, then I think we can get something from the game. So I'll go 2-1.
Okay, Dustin, thank you very, very much. We love that. Ash, what are you saying for this game?
3-0 Chelsea. I'm joking.
Actually,
I'm joking.
Sorry, me then.
Everyone was rattled. Look.
We dealt with that for the goal difference. What are you honestly saying?
Let me be positive. 1-0 Spurs, isn't it? 1-0 Spurs. I'll be positive. There you go. You know that.
Absolutely love it. You're all more confident than me. You turn that round.
Hey.
I love it. I love the confidence.
What's Marina saying? If I speak, I'm in big trouble.
Yeah, that's the words. Absolutely. Ashmatic, thank you. I mean, I'm loving this confidence. I wish I had a little bit more after West Ham losing, but I'm still, part of me thinks it's the Spurs. It goes down to the wire. Philip, can I get your score prediction for this game?
Despite me being pretty negative just in terms of obviously the history, despite the history, I'm actually feeling really positive about tomorrow, and I'm going to go really positive. I'm going to embrace the day tomorrow. We're going to turn up. I'm going to go with a 3-1 away win. I think I've got a funny feeling we could go there and do a bit of a statement like win, statement performance, statement win, go into the final game
Beautiful.
of the season, chilled, and then the De Zerbi era can like properly start, without any worries of, battling relegation.
Love it,
3-1.
Philip. Thank you. I love it. And thank you all for your score predictions. Just very quickly then, on the final two games, kind of what I would call the relegation battle ahead. So chances of relegation, according to Opta, Spurs are given a 6% chance. Funny how that drops after just one game. With 2 games left, Chelsea away and Everton at home, as we know. They give West Ham, you take a guess randomly, of course, 94%. With 1 game left, just Leeds at home. Interesting. So I want to very, very quickly go across the panel, and if you can just say the percentage, that'd be amazing. What percentage, do you think likely that Spurs stay up? How confident are you? I would say probably now. I say 80%, for example. I'd say chance that Spurs stay up. That's the way I view it. Some people go a lot further, but part of me still thinks you just don't know. But again, we're in such a good position. Wheelsy, what % chance for you would you put on Spurs staying up? How confident are you?
99.9% reciprocal.
I love
Doesn't
that.
end.
Doesn't end. Great. I love that. Dustin.
I predicted a win against Chelsea, so clearly, if I can't say we have less than I can't say that we have less than 99%. But I would say that initially I had predicted that West Ham and us would win both our games, and that's not happened. So, what do I know?
Love it. Thank you very, very much. Ashmatic, if you had to put a percentage to it, would you go close to 100 or 100?
Contradictory thoughts are
Oh.
running through my mind right now. But let's keep it positive. Let's go 75%.
Only. You're joking again.
Positive, I'm telling you. I say what I'm really thinking. Yeah, 75%. Sorry, 75%, guys. Bordering 80%. Yeah, that one.
Okay, Ashmatic, thank you very, very much. Philip, what would you say then, percentage-wise? I know that we've talked about this before at various points in the season. It's interesting to see how both of ours and everybody else's percent has completely changed. But if you had to put percentage to it,
Sorry, for staying up, right?
staying up. Yeah, 2 games to go.
100.
Oh, you said
100%. 100%.
Okay.
We got this now. We got this now. Luckily.
We got this.
Luckily, we got this. Thank God. But we're not there yet.
Wait, does that change if we lose against Chelsea? I'm just asking the question. So I ain't gonna end it.
If we lose against Chelsea, no, it does. It does. Well, it depends. Well,
we don't normally win at Bridge. I'm just saying, guys.
Put it this way.
I think we're going to get results tomorrow. But if we lose against Chelsea, then it probably does change slightly. Because. But hang on, I'm getting confused now. West Ham are.
So it's 2-point gap.
West Ham would have to beat Leeds, right?
Yeah, but if we get right, West Ham have to beat Leeds. But if we get a point from either of those games, it's enough because of the goal difference. So 1 point in 2 games. It's doable.
If we
Watch
lose
West Ham win against Leeds like 14-0 or something, just send us down on points.
Oh, can you imagine? We're worried at West Ham 5, even West Ham 5 Leeds 0. You just start to close your mind a bit, doesn't it?
You say if we do lose to Chelsea though, and I don't think we will, but if we do, then it probably realistically does go to like 75 or something, because we should still pick up a point right on the last day of the season. But
should
all we've got to do is lose, right? And West Ham have got to win, and then we're basically down. So
yeah,
that's not outside of the realms of possibilities, right? Especially in our home form. So I do think tomorrow is actually important. We really do need to just turn up and try and get something from the game, right?
For sure. Do you know, I could say now I'm quite confident we'll go to the final day. I think they'll be okay and we'll stay up. But this is Spurs we're talking about, right? We don't do things the easy way. I think there'll be a moment they go to the last game. I actually think West Ham will beat Leeds and comfortably, but I think there'll be a point where West Ham are winning, right? And we'll be sat there thinking, oh my God, yeah, we need to take the lead, or we need to do something in this game. I just think that's so Spurs to put us in that situation in the last game where we're actually thinking.
No, Chelsea haven't won in 5. Everton haven't won in 5. Leeds, who haven't lost in 5.
But doesn't that just mean they need to win more than ever? Everton need to win if they want any chance. Unlikely.
No, but that's what I'm saying. That's the point I'm making. I'm saying Chelsea, they haven't won in 5. Everton haven't won in 5, but it'll be typical Dr. Tottenham to turn up. And Leeds,
all these players you mentioned,
haven't lost in 5. So then
Coleman on his final game, all of this. Yeah, I'm worried. The more I think about it.
But yeah, no, I'm just saying, guys. It's all right.
But the final question, Wheelsy, I'm going to give to you, and I think I know the answer, but I'm going to ask anyway. If I said to you a month ago, I know my answer, but if I said to you a month ago, we'd be 2 points clear of the drop zone with a much better goal difference than we didn't hope it was going to be, but we're West Ham, some suspected that. 13 better goal difference at this moment, to be exact. Would you have taken it, right? You would have, wouldn't you, a month ago when De Zerbi come into the club? A lot of us, I think you said, I think I said, it felt inevitable that we would go down. You would have taken this position, wouldn't you, with 2 games to go? I know it's frustrating we're not already safe with opportunities like Leeds and Brighton to win, and we failed to do that. But you would have taken it then, wouldn't you, a month ago?
I mean, a month ago, 2 months ago, I said on your video, Harry, that we are getting relegated. Ash, on your video, I said we're getting relegated. And like the last 3 weeks have been mind-boggling, because how have we got 3 points against Villa away? If we didn't get them 3 points, we would have been in serious trouble right now. So I think what's happened is no short of a miracle, and we should be very lucky and thank our lucky stars that we're in the position we are now, because we could be safe by tomorrow, and that's a massive positive.
For sure, absolutely. Thank you very much. And Will saying here, can Burnley win tonight? Well, we're on air at the moment during the game, so I don't know what the score is, but part of me does not want to check. Focus on ourselves first, I think, and
They've
then
hit
we'll
the
worry
post, by
about
the way.
them not
They've hit the post.
hit the post. They can keep doing that for all they like, as long as it goes to the wrong side of the post. But that wraps up very nicely for this episode of Scarfey Spurs. So action-packed as always with Spurs. You're thinking, just a simple preview show, and De Zerbi comes up with some big things around the goalkeeper, but it's interesting to see in different ways. I mean, I like this different thinking. That's the thing. It would all be boring if we all thought the same. But let's go through and see if you can find all my guests on social media. You can find me at Harry Scarfe 22, but of course, subscribe to the podcast if you're listening on YouTube, Scarfey Spurs. Check us out on all socials because this podcast is on audio platforms. It's your podcast platforms, whether it be Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, a load of these. Some I've never heard of before, may I just add, in different places of the world, but we are on them according to some. So I take absolutely their word for it. But also on X as well, delivering daily Spurs news, lots of content, clips of all the content as well across all socials, TikTok now as well, Facebook, X, you name it, Instagram, all at Scarfey Spurs Talk. But guest-wise, please do follow them all. Firstly, Wheelsy, where can people follow you on the socials? I know, a bit like me, you're on pretty much absolutely everything.
So you can find me under my handle at Alex Wheelsy. Thank you very much for having me on, Harry. It's been a pleasure, and I'll be seeing you again on Thursday.
Absolutely, you will. You're coming straight back on, back-to-back appearances. That's great. Back-to-back Spurs wins to go with it. That'd be absolutely amazing.
Hopefully.
You won't find out by Thursday, but even if we go for a win against Chelsea, that'll be good enough for me. Willsy, thank you very, very much. Great to have you. Great appearance as always. Dustin, thank you very much for joining us. Hope you have a good day ahead in Singapore. Where can people follow you on the socials? And thank you for getting up at this incredibly early time to talk to me.
You can find me on X over here, and on YouTube they've got a link to my playlist there. I've got recently done one on De Zerbi's reign, which is like 11 minutes long. It's basically covering the trajectory of how he's been doing. And the surprising thing is that what De Zerbi's done for us is that he's improved our defense, not so much the attacking.
As for now, will the goalkeeping change that though? Interesting. But for now, you're absolutely right. Hopefully it stays that way, but definitely leaking less goals and looking more secure defensively. So yeah, follow Dustin there for his deep dive analysis. A big fan of the work that he does. Dustin, thank you. Ashmatic, great to have you on. Thank you very, very much. In better circumstances, hopefully even better after this game. Where can people follow you on the socials and tell people as well about Spurs Kings TV?
Yeah, just what you said. Spurs Kings TV is where you're going to find us. So make sure you follow us on all platforms, YouTube especially, man. We're on tonight. So, yeah, give us a watch if you can. Every follow helps, every like helps, every subscribe helps to get us out there a bit more. And yeah, man, if you like the conversation today, then or you want to extend it, you want to hear a bit more, we're going to have exactly the same conversations as well. So yeah, all Spurs family is welcome. Thanks for having me on, Harry, and big up to the chat.
Head over.
Yes.
No worries. Thank you very much for your time. Do appreciate it. And also big thank you, Philip, for coming on, stepping in last minute. I said it earlier and I'll say it again. We need the Spurs substitutes to be that effective, that quick thinking on their feet for sure. Good performance as always. When called in last minute, where can people follow you on the socials?
Yeah, pleasure to be on as always, Harry, and keep up the good work. Online, I'm pretty much only really on X at Frankfurt Spurs. I do normally tweet a lot and actually create some content on German Bundesliga football, new talents, young players, and the state of the league and stuff. But to be honest, this season I haven't really done that much. I think the whole Spurs situation and also my German team, Eintracht Frankfurt situation, who've had a comparatively very bad season as well, hasn't really helped my creative mindset this year. So I'm going to be making a pact to jump back on it properly next season, and yeah, we'll be doing some more content on there. But it's always good to be on here. I'm on a couple of our partner kind of shows as well, right? Project Spurs with Gary and the team there as well. Sometimes on Die Hard, so yeah, shout out to them. But look, it's always good to be on here, and look, let's just hope that we can, as I said, that we turn up tomorrow and get that point that we need.
Absolutely, a point's enough. But the thought of, I know, yes, because of goal difference, a draw is enough. But if we can beat Chelsea and mathematically, officially relegate West Ham, absolutely beautiful. That they go down, that we stay up, that Chelsea lose, that we win, all these things in one night, in one moment, it would be absolutely fantastic. But on that note, thank you very much and a massive come on, you Spurs.